And welcome to our January Happy New Year edition of Sports Highlights. Sports Highlights started in February of 1992. Here we are in 2023. Great crew, great staff to make it all possible all these years. Sports Highlights airs on TV on Mondays at 7 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m., weekends at 9 a.m. on Cox Cable 47, FiOS 17 throughout the peninsula as well, also all over social media and YouTube as well. Our guests today are Jim Highsmith, the head cross-country coach at Warwick High School, and Ricardo Grant, sports podcast host, and also went to Full Sail University, which specializes in broadcasting. Jim Highsmith, good to see you.
Thank you.
Head cross-country coach at Warwick High School, and you went to Menchville, but running's always been a part of your life.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Since eighth grade year, I was introduced to track and field, joined the Menchville track and field program there, and got immediately pulled into the sport of running. My ninth grade year, joined the cross country team. Ran all through Menchville, all 4 years, indoor, outdoor, and cross country. Was recruited to a couple different local colleges, ended up running for all 4 years at Christopher Newport University.
Yeah, the late Coach Honeycomb was a great track coach, had a great legacy and history there at Menchville High School, also coached the football team as well. But let's start off right there. Indoor track, regular outdoor track,
Yes, sir.
cross country, there's all types of track. There's shot put. Tell us everything about track.
Yeah, see, track and field is a great sport. I love watching it, love being involved in it. It really allows athletes of all sorts to be part of that program. In the Menchville team, we had all of our football players, baseball players, wrestlers. Track and field was a great off-season sport for those that were participating in other sports. So you got the field events, the sprints, the hurdles, middle distance, long distance. It really has it all.
Absolutely, and there's so much you can do. A lot of the times, like you said, football players run track in the spring to get ready, especially running backs and receivers.
Absolutely.
So that really definitely helps. What do you enjoy the most about it? And you've always liked cross country.
Yeah, I love cross country. Really, both track and field and cross country. I love the team aspect about both of those as a sport. A lot of people look at this as more of an individual sport. But the team aspect behind it is really what's gravitating to be a part of a program that has so many layers, especially track and field. There's points for all of the events. So be a part of something like that where you're really uniting the entire team for the better goal.
Absolutely. What are some of your fond memories from Menchville?
So it's funny enough that you mentioned Coach Nuttycombe. He actually spent my last 2 years at Menchville. He was there assisting our cross-country team. And just being there and hearing some of his knowledge and all the years that he had been part of cross-country, just talking about all the guys in the 70s and the 80s that have grown up. I still remember, very specific stories he would tell us about different individuals. And, learning his coaching style was definitely a big part of what made me love the sport so much.
And his son was very involved in track too.
Absolutely.
At the college level. So now you're the Warwick High School head cross-country coach. What do you try to instill in the kids?
So this is my first year there, and really, I came into the season trying to kind of revamp the program. I wanted to build a new culture there, really kind of give knowledge to the students about what cross country is all about. Kind of build the program. They only had five males on the team last year, only one female on the team. So my goal was just to create a full team on both the men's and women's side. And so it was great for me to be able to kind of be there and watch these individuals who were not only invested in getting themselves better, but they were invested in the team as well. So they did a lot in school trying to recruit for the program. So I was very happy to see how the cross country season went for us.
And one thing too, when you see the CNU kids, that the ones that are running on their own on the weekdays, Saturday or Sunday mornings, you got to remember most of them probably learned that from mom and dad at a young age, let's say from Northern Virginia, and they brought that love of cross country down here, and it helps them with their quality of life.
Absolutely, yes. I saw that a lot at Christopher Newport, and now I'm trying to build that same culture down here at Warwick High School.
Well, talk about what's the biggest challenges. I mean, running is a lot of endurance. It's something you've got to be in shape for. It's not like just walking down the aisle at the grocery store. Talk about some of the distances and how long it is, and how can you tell if a person, first of all, is in shape to do it?
Yeah, so that's a very good point. So obviously, starting a cross country season for high school cross country, our race is 3.1 miles, the 5K, 5 kilometers. So there's going to be individuals that come in on the team beginning of the year that are not ready to run that full 5K. So my job as a coach is to be able to see that and work them towards that. Everybody comes in a different shape, and my job is to find out where they are physically, where they are mentally, how hard are you willing to work, or, how tough are you? What are your goals? And then my goal is to put a plan together to help you reach your goal individually. And then obviously we'll come together to work on our team goals and where we want to go as a team.
We're talking to Jim Highsmith. This is the head cross-country coach at Warwick High School. He went to Christopher Newport. He also went to Menchville High School as well. And you talk about some of the places that the cross-country teams run at. You always used to hear about Newport News Park. And, of course, a lot of amateurs like to run the Nolan Trail. But talk about where the competitions are held at.
Yeah, so for cross-country during in the high school level, we run Newport News Park, obviously. We do a lot of training at Nolan Trail. There's a lot of other great trails and areas around here on this side of the water, the other side of the water. You got Sandy Bottom, which is a Peninsula District meet is held there every week. We've got a course over there. Newport News Park, Riverview over by Menchville has a great course. We've got a course, Warwick High School. Our course is right around the Nolan Trail. So those are where the Peninsula District courses are held, and then obviously we've got meets over in Williamsburg, across over in Chesapeake, and then Northern Virginia is obviously where States was held this year, so there's some really great courses over there as well.
I mean, right there by BC Charles.
Yes, sir.
In Menchville, that field out
Riverview.
there, all the way to the football field. You can jog just around there.
Yes.
Get a workout.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually spend a lot of time, as I'm training for the One City Marathon, I'll spend a lot of time running around there as well.
Talk about some of the marathons you competed in the Mid-Atlantic states.
Yeah. So after graduating from Christopher Newport University, I took some time off, and then I got the love for running again, and so in that I started training for some local 5Ks and then building my way up to marathon. So my first marathon was at the Marine Corps Marathon, which was a great event, and from there on, I've done the Shamrock, I've done Rock and Roll Marathon, but to be honest with you, my favorite marathon is the One City Marathon, right here in our backyard where I've spent so many years running.
Do you feel like you have a home field advantage? When are you going to win it? I want to see you win it. Yeah.
I don't know if winning is in my cards right now, but I do feel that there is a little bit of advantage for me personally, just because I know those roads. Like the back of my hand. Menchville, we trained all down near Denby, up in Newport News Park. CNU, I've ran all those. I grew up in the Hydenwood area. We're running through Hydenwood. We're running, all the way down Warwick Boulevard, downtown Newport News. I've been there. I've run all those places my entire life, so I really enjoy being part of that.
But there are some safety things with running too, especially when it gets dark early.
Absolutely.
And give us some. I love the woods and the wildlife. So give us a story when you're jogging on your own in Nolan Trail, Newport News Park, or whatever woods you might be in. Have you ever seen any wildlife?
Oh, absolutely.
Explain, please.
Yeah, and this time of the year, as I'm trying to get in some early morning runs, and I've got to be safe. If it's too dark, I'm wearing my lights. So actually just recently, I'm going and doing the new trail that kind of goes around the Nolan Trail right across from Warwick. And, as you're heading down Boundary, it gets really dark in there. So I've got to make sure my light's on real bright as I'm going through there. And as I'm coming through, I see something coming up. So I'm slowing down. I know that there's, possibly, some kind of wildlife out there. And there's probably about 6 or 7 deer there just staring at me. As I'm getting closer, they start taking off. So I always know that if I do see anything out while I'm rolling Nolan Trail or any of the other trails, that I'm slowing down, letting them know that I'm not a threat. I don't want to startle them because we're real close to each other. That could end up poorly. So I always make sure that I'm paying attention to what's out there.
Especially in the hot heat of the summer. I can only imagine what you've seen out in the trails. There are snakes out there.
Yep. And, Nolan Trail, a lot of snakes, turtles. We've seen fox running through there as well. So.
Yeah, and fox can run too,
Yes.
folks. So
Yes.
Talking to Jim Highsmith, what advice would you give to a kid that wants to run track?
Yeah, so the biggest advice I'd give to people is to make sure that you've got a goal in mind and that you're willing to work for that goal. Running is a fantastic sport. And it is something that it's healthy for you. It's good for you. It can get you ready for any of the other sports as well. It doesn't matter what sport that is. You're building yourself endurance. You're building strength. So I would definitely recommend running track, running cross country if it falls in line with the rest of your sports schedule.
Especially clearing your mind and body. I mean,
Yes.
We need a mental health release. So much about sports and society today is not just physical health, but mental health. I think it really helps with mental health.
Absolutely. I tell people this. A lot of people will get a little confused when I tell them I don't wear headphones when I'm running long distances. I use that time for myself. So running is a stress reliever for me. It is time for me to focus on myself. I like hearing the outdoors as well. But yes, I don't listen to music when I'm running. I use that time to, really
Because that's how you can
myself.
unwind and relax.
Absolutely.
And it's good to be disconnected.
Yes.
I think when you and I were growing up, we weren't as connected. But now everybody's connected, and I think you need to be disconnected.
Yes. Yep. I agree.
So as far as the sport itself, I mean, this area has got unlimited opportunities. When you mentioned the One City Marathon, but really, you don't need any equipment. You just need a good pair of tennis shoes. You need to be in the right health and just walk out the door and start running, right? Would you recommend walking first, then running?
Yeah. And again, it's going to depend a lot on where you are, what your goals are. But yes, that could be a huge step for somebody who's trying to get into that. I've worked with a lot of runners in the community. A good friend of mine, Dex, works with runners to build them up from, wanting to be involved in the sport, wanting to have goals of running a 5K, running a half marathon. And so we take time to find out where they are physically, work a plan together with them to get there without injuring themselves.
Right. Work your plan your work, and of course, a lot of great opportunities. Jim, all the best to you and the Warwick High School cross country team.
I appreciate it.
Very good. That was Jim Highsmith. He went to Mitchell High School. He went to Christopher Newport, and now he's the head cross country coach at Warwick High School, doing a great job. Stay tuned for our next guest on the January edition of Sports Highlights.
You're watching NNPS TV. Catch sports highlights on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, and on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. Visit us online at nnpstv.com to view all your favorite episodes. NNPS TV, watching education happen.
I've been rising up and inventing in my classes.
I've been rising up to be the best student athlete I can be.
I'm rising up as a leader in my school.
I'm rising up to prepare for my future career.
We are all rising up and preparing ourselves for success. Thanks to our dedicated teachers and staff in Newport News Public Schools.
Rise up!
And welcome back to our January second segment of Sports Highlights, January 2023. Glad you're with us. Hope you enjoyed our first guest, Jim Highsmith, the head cross-country coach at Warwick High School. It's a pleasure now to talk to Ricardo Grant, who graduated from Bethel High School, is now a sports podcast host, and graduated from Full Sail University. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
So what made you get interested in broadcasting?
Honestly, when I was a little kid, the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl, and they came to the Hampton Coliseum for a charity game. And I don't know if you remember, there was a toy, a little face toy that had a little microphone. And I went to one of the players, and I just put the mic to his face. And I don't know what he said, I don't know what I said, but I just seemed like ever since then, I was destined to be a broadcaster. And then one day, I listened to the Steve Harvey show. He had this one quote that said that, think of something you can do for free and have the greatest peace of mind. And that's always been for sports. He said, well, that's what you need to do. So one day, I was on Twitter. I seen it on my Twitter feed. I had never heard of this school, Full Sail. I applied for it. Next thing you know, I got a call, and the man said, you got the Momentum Scholarship because you know a lot about sports.
Very nice. Talk about what your experience was like at Full Sail, mostly online, but talk about some of the classes and how it prepared you for sports.
The classes was great. We're talking about producing. We're talking about script reading. We're talking about just making your own entire show. And the best story I can give to anybody at Full Sail, it was that they teach you how to basically run your own show. And I was actually scared at first because I was my speech. I had to learn how to talk. You know, a lot of times I have a tendency to just stutter or a tendency to slur my words. But having a class with speech where they tell you how to do these techniques to hold your tongue and to speak out fluently and to slow down when you talk, now I feel like when I give a presentation, I feel like I'm the greatest presentation that there is.
Right.
Yeah, because my confidence to talk. I had an issue sometimes with my self-confidence because I feel like if I talk, will people hear me, will they understand me? But with going through the school and teaching me how to hone your technique, be calm, settle down, and talk, and make sure you use authority with your voice, then you'll feel very much confidence in yourself. And this school taught me about that. It taught me how to shoot video. It taught me about different aspects of what to capture. What is that moment that will last for a long time? Full Sail actually has been one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life.
Because it also taught you how to absorb the information you got. And you're a pretty calm person, and it seemed like you just soaked up all that information.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the teachers, like one of my teachers, Richie Barron, he was teaching me so much about looking at a film, looking at a footage, looking at what can you pick out? What can you pick out that somebody else can't pick out? You have a lot of broadcasters, and they may pick out the same thing. But what are you going to pick out? What is going to make you different from anybody else? What is your story going to be than anybody else? So now when I look at games now, I look at stuff deeper, not just a 20-yard pass or a 5-yard run. Look at the offensive line. Look at the blocking. Look at the quarterback's eyes when he's directing. Talk about the things that you see a quarterback while he's going through his progression. Full Sail taught me a lot about that, and now I look at sports, I look at, well, there's a science to almost everything, and it's a beautiful science to know about the different things of football.
Right, and of course you see a lot of that stuff on YouTube as well, that Bethel had a legacy. My mom taught there. Bethel won state championships in the 70s and the 90s. So you go back and look at that legacy that you went to school at Bethel. They've always had a rich tradition in football and basketball both.
Yes, that's correct. And of course, if anybody know about Bethel, the number one person I talks about is Allen Iverson.
Right.
And my family, we knew Allen Iverson. So he used to come back to Bethel a few times when I was there. But just seeing him, how he didn't let things limit him. And I love that about him. He's 6'1" on a good day, and he was just this tough kid. I mean, that's the representation of the Bethel of a Seven Cities kind of kid, which is where I'm from as well. So being in Bethel and seeing this the aura of AI coming there, and just seeing some of my friends break his record as well. It just goes a long way just being part of a Bethel High School, knowing that Allen Iverson, who's in the Hall of Fame, who's somebody considered one of the greatest shooting guards of all time, went to Bethel High School in Hampton, Virginia. Yeah,
we saw him play in high school and college, and of course he played for the Sixers primarily. But he's in his late 40s. It almost seems like he could still go out there and help a team now.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course.
Why not, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you look at it, I know you're 40 years old, but it's all about how you feel. Look at guys like Vince Carter. He was in his 40s. Still putting up shots. Ginobili in his 40s, still doing things. Sometimes it just feel like that's that love in the game, and it's hard to give away from it. But when AI was part of the Big Three, he was one of the main attractions, and he still can shoot a jumper. Even there's a video of Michael Jordan going against a little kid in his 50s, telling him straight up that, hey, Google me and see who I am. So it's just the love of the game.
And LeBron, 20 years. Kareem went 20 years. Let's talk about your podcast.
Yes. So my podcast is called the So Disrespectful Radio Show. The reason I got the title, because I wanted to do something that's going to catch your eye. You got the usual sports show. You got the usual, the generic things. I want you, when you see it, you be like, ooh, disrespectful. Ooh, let's listen to this. That's how I want to capture you. And then when you listen to my show, one thing I like to do is be different from the norm. I don't want to talk, have a monotone. That time when you talk, you basically going to go to sleep when you hear my show. I want to be upbeat, hype. I also want to give you good comedy. I want to make you laugh. I want you, when you hear my show and see it on YouTube, that you have a great time looking at it and you want to come back and see it for another show.
Right, because you're a big fan of Steve Harvey, you said.
Yes, I am.
Absolutely, talking to Ricardo Grant. And the one thing about you is you think outside the box. Here, LinkedIn is a pretty conservative social media platform. It's not like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. But you kind of put stuff out there like, look at me, and like, don't think like everybody else.
Of course. One thing I like to do on LinkedIn also is to show that anybody can do it. Don't think because I went to college or high school, or anybody can do it. And I just look at it as like, well, if you want to use inspiration, use it. Because I'm saying I'm just a kid from the bottom. I'm from Newport News, Virginia, from downtown Newport News, Virginia. Yeah. And I went through a lot of stuff in my life. But look at me right now. At 35 years old, I'm the guy right now that you can say, if I can do it, you can do it. It's no respective person.
And I met you at the Newport News Greek Festival, and you were out there grinding, out there doing promotions with radio stations. So you don't care. You get your feet wet, and you still get your feet wet.
All the time. I look at it like this. It's different jobs. I have different jobs. I'm a broadcaster. I also work at the shipyard. I'm also a family man. I'm a husband and a father. So I look at it like this. The grind doesn't stop. The marathon always continues. You always try to be better than you was yesterday, better than you was the day before. You just always look at every day as a new day and a fresh start.
Well, I know you're a big fan of the Washington Commanders.
Yes, I am.
It's still kind of hard to get over that name. It's still, the Washington football team had a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
I like how the fact that they're still keeping the same somewhat uniforms. But we're into January now, but let's just evaluate Ron Rivera. Let's just talk about him for a second. He just finished his third year. Your thoughts?
I actually like Ron Rivera because Ron Rivera commands authority. He commands the respect. Before that, we had Jay Gruden. And it seemed like with Jay Gruden, he was the, let me be friends with you type. Let me do things that you may appease to you. Well, sometimes in football, you can't do that. Sometimes the truth is going to hurt. With Ron Rivera, he's going to give you the truth. He's going to tell it how it is, and you need that. We're grown men in football. And with Jay Gruden, when he's a talk, you just be like, really don't believe it. When Ron Rivera talk, you sit up and, okay, let's see what he got to say. So in his third year, I really, truly love Ron Rivera. And you got to honestly believe, look at the coaches we had before Ron Rivera. Jay Gruden, Jim Zorn, Steve Spurrier. I can go on a list. At least when you got Ron Rivera, you got someone who has the authority and the respect of his players.
I totally agree as a gentleman. And look at Cam Newton, how well he did with Cam Newton at Carolina. They went to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And, of course, sometimes he gives those short, curt answers on his press conferences, but he's a winner.
Exactly. And that's all we care about. As long as there's a win in that W column, hey, you can talk all day, you can say one word, but long at the end of the day, if it says Washington Commanders win, that's all we care about, especially as a fan. You win all the time, that's good. You may lose, but when I think about when he loses, he learns from it. That's a lot of times people don't understand that part. Everything that's a failure isn't a failure. Sometimes your failure, there's a success in that because you're going to learn from your mistakes. You're going to learn what happened last time, and you're going to use it when you to filter to the next game. You can use the same thing in life. You may think you're losing in life, but if you look at it, it's a lesson. Use the mistake and come back better.
Yeah, my dad always told me you learn more from failure, and I didn't understand what he was talking about back then. But as time evolves, you really do. It could be a failed job. It could be a failed college. It could be failed high school, failed marriage, whatever, but you can't live in the past.
Absolutely. Because one thing about it is the past is history. And the future is a mystery. That's why we call it today the present, because it's a gift. So just look at it like that. Yeah, things may happen in your life, but it builds you the person you are to this day. Everything that may have been bad turned around for your good, so now you can go better than you did before.
Yeah, and you talk about how you connect on YouTube. What is your favorite social media platform?
My favorite social media platform is now Twitter, honestly. At first it was Facebook, then it became Instagram. But with Twitter, you can connect with so many people. You can connect with so many of the fans. Connect with even people that's in the celebrity-wise. I got to talk to Brian Mitchell on Twitter. I ain't never thought that in my life I get to talk to one of my former players. Even Taylor Heineke liked one of my own stuff. I was blown away. So I knew that Twitter is the thing to go. Besides, with Twitter also, you kind of can be yourself more on Twitter.
Right. And people are always starving for content. This show started off on TV. We put it on YouTube. We can put it on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. It can go on Instagram. It can go anywhere. It's like feeding the beast.
Oh, absolutely. And you never despise small beginners neither.
No.
You never know where something can be led to. I always use this analogy for anything. Think of football in the course of a season. You have your OTAs, your training, your practice, your preseason, your season, playoff, and Super Bowl. You look at all the things that players go through. But when you get to that Super Bowl and you win that trophy, you're going to look at everything you went through and you're going to say it was worth it. The same with your business, same with the show. Go through, never give up, continue going through. Consistency, hard work, and eventually it's going to pay off and it's going to work out for you.
Right. We've done this since February of '92, but I'll say this too, real quick about Jeff Saturday. People, a lot of haters out there. He saw that a lot of the people that he thought were his friends were knocking him, criticizing. That's true in life, that people are always going to throw darts. Here he did back in November, a couple months ago, won his first game, always got a smile on his face. The locker room loved him. He played for the Colts. And you had former coaches like, no, he didn't do it our way. Well, the owner makes up his decision, and I think he picked a good guy that maybe wants to change his career.
Yes, I really picked a good guy too. One thing about is you find out who is your friends and who is not. So when you go with the norm, you'll see people come to you, but when you step out of the box and be extraordinary, then you start seeing the realness of people. There's no reason for this man to get tarnished like this. Jeff Saturday is a Hall of Famer. Jeff Saturday played with Peyton Manning, to me one of the greatest minds in NFL. Played with Reggie Wayne. He played with so many people. You really think he can't lead someone? You can tell just by him talking, tell by his playing, that he has a leadership quality in him. And that's what a lot of times players need. They need a leadership. They need I can look at you and say, I can lead through you. I can run through a wall. I can jump over a troop. I can do everything because I got a leader right now that say, I will go to battle for you. Just like the Lions coach with Dan Campbell, it's just the fact that it's a battle. You need that leader.
And I root for more of the individuals now as opposed to the team because, like you said, Dan Campbell, Jeff Saturday, these are real leaders of men. The coach of the Dolphins, that type of stuff. Give some advice to the Newport News School kids watching.
I'll say this: never give up. Never give up. I know sometimes it may look hard. I know sometimes it may look tough, and I know sometimes you may go to bed crying or whatever. But never give up. You have to see above sea level. What that means is you have to look past your five senses and look into the future. So always think about you have faith, consistency, and hard work. When you put those three things together, you will never fail and always give your best. You know you do best when you give your best.
Happy New Year, my friend.
You
It was
too.
a pleasure getting to know you, and all the best of your podcast as well on YouTube.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Ricardo Grant, sports podcast host, went to Full Sail University, was the valedictorian, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and he's proud of it too.
Yes.
He's got a great attitude. So I hope you enjoyed our guest today, Jim Highsmith, the head cross-country coach at Warwick High School, and Ricardo Grant as well. For Ray Price, I'm Greg Bicoveris. Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you soon.